for joining us tonight. Felecia and I want to welcome you to Earth Whispers by telling you a bit about the program, what you might expect, and a bit about ourselves as well. Well, you know you can't escape your family, your time in history, or the planet you live on, but you can learn to make peace with each of those. And we do that by starting right here within ourselves. And once we have that peace and joy and love within us, we're able to extend it right out into the universe. And Earth Whispers lets you join us wherever you are in your practice of deep listening and looking for that sacred or universal in all dimensions of your life. So today, Felecia and I, it's our hope and our prayer that through the exercises we do and the community we build, that you begin your journey toward a persistent loving gaze of the natural world and your place in it. In Earth Whispers, we do that through exploring the 4 elements, which are earth, air, fire, and water. And tonight we're going to focus on earth. So I would like to start out by reading a Celtic prayer to you, and it's in your booklet. If you would like to turn to page 3, you can read along with me. Deep peace of the running wave to you, of water flowing, rising, and falling, sometimes advancing, sometimes receding. May the stream of your life flow unimpeded. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you, which fans your face on a sultry day, the air which you breathe deeply, rhythmically, which imparts to you energy, consciousness, life. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you, who, herself unmoving, harbors the movements and facilitates the life of the 10,000 creatures while resting contented, stable, tranquil. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you, which stay invisible till darkness falls and disclose their pure and shining presence, beaming down in compassion on our turning world. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. And I love that prayer because it just gives us such a beautiful image of each of those elements. So now I'd like to introduce my Earth Whispers sister, Felecia. Felecia, would you share with us the first time that you recognized that you were connected to nature?
Sure, Sue. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you tonight. I grew up on a farm in Iowa and was very fortunate that our farm had what we called timber, which is wooded ground. And I, at a very young age, was given permission to wander in the woods by myself. And those trees were like cathedrals, light streaming down through them. And it was just the most peaceful, holy place. So that place holds a very dear, dear place in my heart. How about you, Sue? You want to tell us about your first natural connection that you remember?
Sure. Oh, yes. I remember that day so well. It was one particular day, and the sun was just shining bright down on my back and warming me clear to my bones as I tumbled in the salty waves of the Gulf of Mexico. And I emerged from the water with seaweed tangled around my legs and sand in my swimsuit and salt in my eyes. But I was so, so happy. That just made me feel so good. And so at 5 years old, I was enchanted by the sea. And ever since then, the natural world has just held a really special place in my life. So now we've told you our stories, and we'd love to hear from you. So if you would like to share when you first felt your connection to the natural world, if you just hold up your hand like this so that we can see it up by your face, and then unmute yourself, and then share your story with us. So
we might want to call on people. Ruth, you had your hand up.
Yeah, see, I can't see all the hands, so go ahead. Yeah.
Am I hearable?
You're live.
I remember when I was 5 years old, I was the only child living with my grandparents because the school was close and I could walk it. And I remember one whole long Sunday afternoon lying on the lawn under a tree and just being in peace. And I still remember it. I could feel the peaceful feeling as I was lying on that lawn for a long time.
Oh, what a beautiful memory. Yes, thank you, Ruth. That was so nice of you to share. Love that. Trees, outdoors. Yes, who else would like to share? Let me see if I can. Ruth, another Ruth.
Our other Ruth, and I'll unmute her. Okay.
Well, I've always loved nature, but I married a forester, and our first date, we went over to Backbone and went hiking through the woods. And I can't tell you how many times, taking 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how old they were, children with us, hiking through the woods. It was a very important part of our life.
And I'm sure your children will always remember that time.
I talked to my grandson who was over this morning about something else, and we were talking about something else, and there's a tree in my yard that really needs to, we're afraid it's going to have to come out. And he said, I remember walking, the first thing I remember is walking with Grandpa and you in the woods. He said, that's one of my earliest memories. Mm-hmm. And I know he said that he's married now, he's not newly married, but 3 or 4 years. And he said, I asked Stacy to marry him out at the pond in our woods, one of our woods, because that was such a special place to him and now to Stacy as well.
Isn't that wonderful that you shared that love and passed it on through generations? That's an amazing story.
It is. Very good. Thank you, Ruth, for sharing.
Got the galaxy.
We have, yes, Arlene.
Is anxious to share, and I grew up on a farm, and I loved the woods, and I had this special tree down in my woods. I would just love to climb up in that tree and sit there, and I'm on that farm yet today again, where I grew up, and I love the trees out here. So that's my story with the woods.
Oh, thank you, Arlene. Yes, beautiful story. Maybe just one more. Do we have anyone else?
We have Bonnie Smith Davis has raised her hand.
Okay, Bonnie.
Thanks, Felecia.
Hi,
Hi. I had the opportunity to be raised in a fairly large yard in the city, but my mom liked to grow things, and we had 2 big apple trees, and I also climbed apple trees, and I would often sit in the apple trees, and I got the job of helping farm that little back acre, and it wasn't an acre, but it seemed that way when I was little. But it was so much fun just spending the time out there in nature.
Oh, precious memories, yes.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to have to move on to Felicia's next exercise for us. But if you have stories you want to share, Felicia's going to share at the end how you can do that in another venue. Okay, Felecia.
Great, thanks, Sue. And I'm so glad so many of you mentioned trees, because we have a number of tree exercises that we're going to do today. So we're going to start by trying to engage our right brain. So our right brain is the home of our creativity. It's our holistic looking side, the global thinking side. And in the Western culture, we really prize the left logical side of our brain and that left logical thinking. So that's where our language resides, linear thought, planning comes from there. And we tend to really emphasize in Western culture our left side of our brain, and sometimes don't utilize the right side, the more holistic side of our brain. So tonight, we want to engage that right side of the brain. So to turn the right side of the brain on, we need to quiet that left side. You may be very familiar with that left side. The left side of your brain tends to be that inner critic that says, who are you to say this or think this? Or this is a complete waste of time. So I don't know if you hear that voice a lot. I do. And I want to quiet that side of my brain for tonight and for those more meditative practices that we go through. So we need to give the left side of the brain an exercise that it's going to say, I have no interest in doing this. I'm going to shut down and I'm going to hand this over to the right brain. Now, you may experience some frustration in doing this. Recognize that that's that left side of the brain still trying to get control and saying, this is a complete waste of time. No, that's going to happen. Just tell the left side of the brain, in an hour, you can come back into the fore and take over again. But for now, go with me. So we asked you to bring a leaf. If you didn't, that's fine. We have a fallback position. Also, we actually have some blank sheets of paper, or if you printed out the workbook, there were some blank sheets of paper. So we'd ask you to get to a blank sheet of paper and have your pen in your hand. I want you to take that blank sheet of paper and put it where off to the side where you cannot see it. So this is a little drawing exercise that we're going to do. You will not end up with a masterpiece. So the pressure is off. You're not even going to watch your drawing hand. You're going to ignore your drawing hand. What I want you to do is take the leaf, or if you don't have a leaf, take your non-dominant hand and crunch it up like this, and then turn it in so that you can look at it. And what you're going to do is start anywhere on the leaf or your hand with the lines. And every time you run into an intersection, I want you to follow that intersection to the next intersection. So, and again, you're not watching what you're doing. So you can go ahead and begin, and we're going to give you, it takes a little while. That left brain, right brain has to have their little struggle. So you're going to be doing this exercise for about 5 minutes. So go ahead and begin. Okay. Who knew you could have almost 30 people sit very quietly for 5 minutes? So here's my masterpiece. Does anybody else want to show theirs? Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing. So
Uh,
hopefully we've turned off that more logical and we've engaged the right side, the creative, the holistic side of our brains. Now Sue is going to lead us through some really powerful visualization and meditation practices. Sue?
yes, thanks, Felicia. Yes, we've quieted that left side, and now we're going to switch over to the right, and we're going to actually turn to our internal landscapes now, because the various forms of earth have a lot to teach us about our internal landscapes. And in some Native American traditions, earth is associated with north and with winter. So now I invite you to turn and face north if you can. And I'll give you a second to do that. And even if you have to turn your back to the computer, that's fine, just as long as you can hear my voice. Okay, so now in community, we all face north, the land of the midnight moon, and a time for reflection and contemplation and turning inward. So I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. Breathe all the way from your toes, all the way up through your body. Exhale. Hear that breath go all the way through you. Now we're going to take another breath, starting in the belly. Deep down in your belly, breathe up through the rib cage, up into your heart center. Pause. Now exhale back down through your heart center. Unfurl through the ribs and into your belly, and pause. Now a big inhale back up through that rib cage to your heart center. Pause. One more time. Back down, unfurl through the ribs, and end up back in your belly. Now back to your natural breathing. And as your mind calms, become conscious of the element of earth and the way your body is made of earth and will one day return to earth. Imagine God as the vine and you are one of the branches extending out into the world. Experience your rootedness in the divine. Notice in your body where you feel the gift of earth, of seeds holding wisdom underground, of roots sinking deep. Rest in your grounding and in your place on earth. Take a moment for introspection and solitude, listening for the wisdom of earth. Ponder where in your life you feel the gift of earth. Now silently repeat after me. deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Now gently, slowly, open your eyes, come back to center, back to your computer. And now hold all that has awakened in you as Felecia leads us into a new exercise.
Thank you, Sue. It was so grounding and peaceful, just what I needed. If you'll turn in your booklet to page 10. Now, if you didn't print your booklet off, that's fine. Just take a blank sheet of paper. And so page 10 looks like this. At the top, it says write, ideas, draw, and miscellaneous. So if you did not print off your booklet, just take a blank sheet of paper, and at the top, write, and the ideas, draw, and miscellaneous, and divide it up so that the write and the drawing sides are about equal and about 2/3 of the page. So what we'd like you to do now is to use that beautiful meditation and all the images that you were just thinking about. Capture each of those ideas down under ideas. So just one word. Write all your ideas down that you remember from that beautiful meditation. And then write what that meditation meant to you personally. When you're done with that, we'd like you to draw your experience of the meditation, your ideas, your thoughts, whatever you'd like. Put a drawing in there. Don't worry if it's not a masterpiece, stick people are fine. The miscellaneous category is, as you're doing this, as you're writing your ideas or writing down or drawing, if you have additional ideas that you want to capture from this practice, then that's the place to do that. But also encourage you to do something like this each time you venture into nature. I think it was Ruth shared with us the story of how her experience and sharing that experience with her grandson was so meaningful, it passed down through the generations. Those kinds of stories are so important in our family. So this gives you a method, a way to capture that in the future. So we'll give you about 5 minutes to do this. So again, start with ideas, then you're writing. What is it you want to take away from this? And then a drawing that represents what you've written down. If you have questions, you can put those in chat and I'll respond to those. Up, and that's about 5 minutes. So I'm going to pull you back in. Who would like to share from this exercise? If you'd raise your hand. Sue?
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
I've been planting a lot. And so what it gave to me was planting the perennials or the annuals and putting the dirt and the earth around it. So my grandson out in Colorado is writing haikus. And we've been writing haikus back and forth. So I've been sending some out to him, and then I'm having him correct me if I goof it up. So it goes a 5, a 7, and a 5. It doesn't rhyme, but it's the syllables. So this is my haiku with my planting. I plant you gently, though firmly I set you straight, covering you tight.
Oh, Sue, that is beautiful. That is
I
really wonderful.
love gardening gloves, so I just, I put those around and hold them tight and make them grow straight. And so that's my haiku.
That is
Yeah.
a gorgeous haiku. We're going to tell you later how to share some of this on Facebook and Instagram, and I sure hope you will share that. That deserves a wider audience. Thank you. Others who want to share? Deb May? Whoop, Deb, you're
I'm
muted.
unmuting her.
Okay.
I'm trying. She might have to do it herself. It's not working.
Yeah, that might have
There.
worked, right? Okay. So I'm a rookie at this.
Can you lean in a little bit, Deb? We're having trouble hearing you.
Okay. Something that I noticed that really surprised me is that when I was drawing my picture of nature, and even though it's not very good or anything, I just felt more connected to nature drawing that picture in the process.
Good.
Great. Do you want to share your picture?
Okay.
You want to hold it up for us?
Wow.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay.
And I remembered
Wonderful.
as a child, I used to draw little grass like that. So little things.
Diana, did you have your hand up? Yes, Diana. I'm going to unmute you or try to.
I just unmuted. I'm unmuted.
Okay.
So, Marilyn, could you? Sorry, we've got a feedback here, so I can't tell if you're hearing multiple
Okay. Now
or
it's
not.
better.
Am I okay?
Now it's better.
Okay. So, I wrote down my ideas and then I went back to writing about them. But what I realized was that I lost my concentration about a quarter of the way through. And then I remembered from doing the exercise on page 3 that two of the things that came up high pointed to the fact that concentration is a problem with me right now. I've been sheltering in place way too long, and just some things have added to that. So it made sense. But one of the things that I also realized from the exercise was that my ideas of nature are small glimpses and images. For instance, sitting in the backyard sucking on dandelion stems, or sitting on the back stairs taking apart a bleeding heart and looking for the wand and all those magical little things. And that when I do reflect on nature or I'm in nature, it's not for me necessarily that super huge big picture, but very vivid small images. And that was true for a lot of things in nature, except when you got to the Spirit of God. And I realized that for me, if I were to have tried to draw that, I couldn't, because the Spirit had absolutely no boundaries for me. So it filled up everything, including all my little images of nature, if that makes sense.
That's really, yes. Thank you for sharing that, Diana. And I'm curious about the magic wand with the bleeding heart. She really captured my imagination. So we'll have to talk more about that later. We have time for, well, no, actually we need to move on to the next exercise to respect everybody's time. So thank you all for sharing. Those are really deep, profound ideas. And I'm sure all of you had something. Again, we hope you'll go on to the Facebook and Instagram site and share those ideas. So the next exercise we're going to do is on page 11. And it is the tree. Now, this tree may not work for you. That's fine. Take one of the blank pages and draw your own tree. So what we're doing with this is really thinking through what supports our spiritual and nature practices. Where are our roots in those practices? What skills, talents, resources do we bring to those practices? And then what's our structure? So think of that as like the trunk of the tree, your structure. Who supports you in your practice? Is it your family, friends, church, maybe particular spiritual practices that you do? And out of that, out of your roots and the structure that supports you, you bloom or put out leaves, or however you want to imagine it. So that's that tree canopy. What is it that are the fruits of the Spirit that come out of your practices, the ways that benefit you, the world, your family, all of those things? I want you to kind of capture the fruit of the roots and the structure. And then all of us, as vital people, have hopes and dreams for our future. And we'll call those the sprouts. So what's coming off of your trunk? What are new ideas and hopes that you have? We'd like you to capture that as well. So again, you can use the tree that's in the booklet, or you can draw your own tree. But the 4 things that we'd like you to capture are your roots, skills, talents, resources, the trunk, what supports you, who or what supports you, how does that spirit manifest itself in the crown of the tree, and then your ideas for future growth, those sprouts. We'll give you about 5 minutes to do this exercise. Call you back to the group and ask who would like to share. Just raise your hand if you'd like to share. Oh, we've all, okay, Julie. Can you unmute yourself, Julie? Can you unmute yourself? Whoop. Somehow you're muted still.
Am I okay,
Okay.
now?
You're
Okay.
good.
All right, good. So I kind of did it backwards because I put the supports at the bottom, at the very, very bottom. I guess I think of my support as the bottom, and as I've been trying to heal the plantar fasciitis I have, that's how I've been able to do it, is keep saying I am supported. So I think of that as the very bottom. But I have, God, my family, my friends, my clients, my followers. But then I also have, the sun. Like, I am a creature of the sun, and being without the sun for the last week has been, oh my goodness. But nature and the trees, because I do love the trees. Like, such a great place to be, and all that good stuff. And then for my trunk here, I guess I put more in skills. I'm a lifelong learner. I am curious. I love learning how God designed our bodies and how we can fuel them and move them according to His design. And oh my gosh, they work pretty darn well when that happens. And as a registered nurse and a health coach, and having a master's degree, and my faith, I have all that in there. And then for the fruits, I have the fruits of the Spirit, the joy I feel when I do those things, love, peace, health, and those other things that I just love. I guess just the ultimate joy I feel when I do see God in so many different things and so many different people. And then the little sprouts that are coming, more opportunities to speak and to get my message out there virtually, and working with different people. So those are the little sprouts that are coming from that. So
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Julie. Would anyone else like to share? Suzanne, can you unmute yourself?
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah. Well, first I want to say thank you because I used to draw all the time when I was a child and then off and on as an adult. And I haven't really done much drawing for probably years. And so this has surprised me, has excited me to, so I drew my own tree. Oh, I don't know if you, oh, you can't see, my background's weird. But anyway, yesterday I was helping a friend move and she was getting rid of stuff and I took this little notebook and so it's called Oodles of Doodles and that's what I've been doing my work in tonight. But so I wrote that I love people, growth, creativity, nature, and movement. My future growth, I wrote Costa Rica because I'd like to move there. And love, because I'm looking for love, hopefully in the right places. Who and what supports me. I have some supportive friends I listed, and then my practices like meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, walking in nature, and then roots, strengths, skills, talents, resources. I put teaching, home, because I've been teaching out of my home, and training and income. So, but mostly it's this creative experience has got me excited. So thank you.
Good. Oh, that's great, Suzanne. I'm glad you're taking that away from it.
Yeah.
We might have time for one more person. Does someone else want to share? It says Senny, so I don't, can you unmute?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, Sharon is my first name.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sharon.
Yeah, I guess this exercise made me realize how much of my hopes and dreams are centered in my grandchildren, that I'd like to be an influence on them. I have 6 of them in town here, and I was a very, very sedentary child myself, and I didn't like the outside at all, but I'm trying to encourage them to get exercise, and I like to take them out in the country on the trail or for walks, and so I've lately come to appreciate nature.
Good, good.
That's great. Thank you all for sharing. I love sharing how your experience of nature, you're really creating a legacy for your grandchildren. I think that's so important. So we're coming in to the celebration point of our practice tonight. And Sue is going to lead us in creating together a celebration piece. So Sue, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Felecia. Well, Felecia and I both believe that our relationship with the natural world is reciprocal. So we always like to end our sessions with a celebration and with a gift back to nature. And tonight, I would like to offer an earth prayer. And sometimes I write my own earth prayers, but this one I'm going to share with you tonight is from a book called Earth Prayers. And it's part of your resources in your packet that you got. But I'll just read it to you. Gratitude to Mother Earth, sailing through night and day, and to her soil, rich, rare, and sweet. In our minds, so be it. So hopefully our exploration of Earth tonight has opened some ideas and thoughts and feelings for you. So in gratitude, I would like to invite you to write your own Earth prayer, and we'll take a few minutes to do that, and then you can share a couple of those if you'd like. So please take time to do that right now. So I'm going to have to call time on you. Sorry, I hate to do that. But we probably have time for one sharing. If anyone would like to, please raise your hand.
We've got S.J. Whitty that's raising her hand.
Oh, Sharon.
Let's see if I can can you unmute yourself?
I don't see Sharon. Oh, there she is.
Thank you, Mother Earth, for the gift of life. Each spring, life springs forth in bird song, leafing out trees, grass greening, daffodils, dandelions, bluebells. Each spring, you remind us that death must occur before new life can begin.
Oh, Sharon, thank you. Oh, that is, I just breathe that in. Thank you so much, Sharon. Wow. And I wish we had time for more, but again, you can add those to our Facebook page, and we really, really do want to hear your earth prayers. So please do that. Felecia, how about bringing us to the end here?
Okay. Sharon, that was magnificent. Thank you for helping us end with such a wonderful celebration. I want to ask you, when you're signed off tonight, to take page 6, which is the after palms test. I don't know if you can see it. This is a way to answer that left-sided brain of ours, that logical brain that says, was that really worth it? You can compare where you started tonight with how you finished. And we think that this is a great practice to take with you, so that when you're going out into nature, take a moment before you begin your walk or begin your gardening or just sit in nature. I think when we started this evening, someone talked about just sitting down in the grass and being present. So notice how you feel before you do those things, and then record how you feel afterwards. We think that this will really encourage you to continue to validate that practice that you have of engaging nature and engaging the deep universal. Also, this is just a little taste of what Sue and I are putting together. And in September, we are so thrilled and hopeful that the world will not be social isolating anymore, and that we'll be able to come together. And Shalom Spiritual Center or Retreat Center and the Canticles of Creation are sponsoring Sue and I for a 2-day workshop in which we are going to go deep, and we're going to actually be able to be out in nature and see all of you, we hope. The dates for that are September 18th and 19th. And as we get closer and really know what our practices, safe practices for meeting and gathering together in groups again, once that's clear, we'll be sending out information to you about that. But in the meantime, if you have a real interest in that, you can email Mary, and there's a sheet in the booklet that has Mary's email address. It's marykenyon@shalomretreats.org. And we hope that you will prayerfully consider joining us on that retreat. So this might be a good place, Mary, to put up the contact information. So we've been talking all night about sharing your work. You all have such wonderful ideas, and we'd like to really encourage you to join us in community. So we have created a Facebook group called Earth Whispers Abbey, and you can go there and request a membership. It's a private group.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our little secret group, and we're going to let you in. So request a membership, and then this is a place for us to be in community together. And so we'd love it if you would share your poetry. That haiku is beautiful. I'd love to see that up on there. Your art, your doodling, all your creativity, as well as your nature practices. Where do you find deep fulfillment, and what would you like to invite others to join you in? Also, we would love it if you would sign up for Sue's and my newsletter. And if you'd like to receive that newsletter, what we'd like you to do is go to the chat button and give us your email information, or you can contact either Sue or I. You have our email listed. Sue's at pbragg@cfu.net, and I'm at felecia.babb@gmail.com. So you can just email us directly or go into the chat and we will capture those tonight before we leave, and we'll be sending out a newsletter. Finally, on page 14 of the booklet, you will find resources that Sue and I think are really valuable as you're developing your spiritual practice. So if you want to read more, explore more, page 14 has all those resources. And page 15 has the contact information. So if you didn't catch it tonight, you can look at the information listed on page 15. And then finally, Sue and I will stick around for a few minutes if you have questions. But what we'd really like to wish you tonight is deep peace of the quiet earth to you and to your practice. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope you found this good use of your time.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shalom is offering a free journal to someone in a drawing. If you are interested to be, I don't know if you can see it if I hold it up, but it says, "Be still and know that I am God," and it's beautiful pictures, and it's a journal that you could win. If you want to receive our newsletter, or if you would like to know what other programs we have coming up at Shalom, you can email your name and your address if you want to be entered into the drawing, or let me know if you would like to be on our email list, because we will continue through June having some free online programs. And my email address is mkenyon@shalomretreats.org. I'll stop sharing the screen. There. Okay, so we want to thank Sue and Felecia for tonight's program. We will be staying in the room for a little bit if you want to ask some questions. And again, if you want to be on their newsletter, you can do that. Put your address or your email address in the Zoom group chat. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank everybody for coming tonight. I'm going to unmute everybody. Okay.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Julie.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Have a good evening.
Yes, good night.
Zooming out. I don't think I have a lot of these things. I don't think you did.
Thank you. I need to go water my plants.
There you go.
I'm glad you're coming to Shalom.
Who has the most beautiful plants anywhere?
Thank you.
Mary?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I guess not.
Did somebody say Mary?
I wanted to be on the newsletter. I can't even.
Mary?